Hello Wilders, I'm taking you to Los Tocanos today. This is looking back at a walk done in August, but it was one of my shorter walks. In the summer I had messed up my feet from all the walking I'd done, and I needed shorter walks with flatter ground, and this provided the perfect option. It's just near between Torre del Mar and Almayate, not so far from the Osborne Bull of Almayate, and heading towards the Ruta de los Fenicios. There's the parking, there's the bull. I went up to the bull a few weeks previously and got to look down at the ground I'd be walking across when I did this particular walk. You see that it's all flat, very agricultural and kind of messy. It all looks a bit shabby, although I think it's really a big wealth producer for the area, and yet they are letting Morning Glory grow up a pylon, which seems very Spanish to me. The horses look beautiful, the animals are generally well kept, including the chickens, which I was pleased to see are free range. The region is the level ground below Vélez-Malaga. The Ruta Fenicio was advertising the yacimiento, the dig of Phoenician ruins that had been found, and I got very excited by this. And then when I found them, this is what they looked like. Essentially, some cement walls with some older stones underneath, and I was very underwhelmed and rather sad that they've put up signs saying there's this amazing, incredibly old architectural dig, and that's what they've done with them. It just seems such a waste, but nevertheless I carried on, my plan being to head towards Vélez-Malaga and go under the motorway, keeping going in that general direction, seeing the farming lands, lots and lots of tropical fruit and subtropical fruit grown in this area, see the wildlife that persists here, and the farming methods. I was glad to see relatively small amounts of plastic. Almeria is just one giant plastic greenhouse, which is incredibly ugly and very negative for wildlife. There's no open acequias. Of course, there's lots and lots of plastic and horrible litter, but I said it was tatty, but there are still open acequias attracting things like this spotted flycatcher, which is wonderful to see. And gaps between fields, field edgings, anywhere where they're not using this kestrel I think had caught a lizard, that's what's in its claws there. Anywhere where they're not using herbicides and pesticides is a big help. And down by the river, when I got over as far as the river, I was seeing grey wagtails which have yellow tails, and white wagtails which don't have yellow, and birds like that flycatcher, always besides water. This is the big limiting factor here, the limited amount of water. A huge amount of the river is taken out for the agriculture that you see here, and I was surprised, in all honesty, to see the open acequia. Los Tocanos is a small community, and I was amused. It's a hunting area, this, to see a taxidermist being advertised, and Maison Chablis, which is for wild boar, because it is a hunting area, but really the hunting is done up in the Sierras, but nevertheless still kind of macho. Some of the restaurants will serve wild boar in the hunting season. I in many ways feel that if that actually supports people keeping more open land, I would rather have hunting than intensive farming, because the wild animals that get shot at least have a decent, potentially have a decent life beforehand. There's arguments for and against, because of course the hunters take out the young and healthiest and leave the population, the wild population, denuded on that basis. This, so you're seeing some farming of tropical fruits, but the palm trees are also a major crop, because palm trees cost a big amount of money and are used all over Spain as decorative plants in cities. Palm trees are actually quite a big money spinner for people in this area, so there is this in addition to I said about the litter, I was really surprised to see somebody had allowed an ornamental clock to drop out of their back pocket. There isn't loads of plastic, but there is some. There, I talked about, this is Viveros, is the Frutas Tropicales. Of course, near any community, there's a place for a punto where you can clean up, and it's always covered in litter. This is a site where they're building houses, probably for second homeowners, but maybe not, because it's really not that far from Vélez. It's actually quite a good situation, and they're building a mini community there. This is summer, this is August, so of course there's Easter baiting snails, and there's a look up towards the mountain, and there's the roads ahead. I actually passed over 2 road bridges before I got to the motorway. There's sweet corn being grown here, and there's the motorway, got there, and when I popped under, eventually I found some water, and at that point I had to turn around and come back, so just a little bit under, but within striking distance of Vélez-Malaga. It's really not that far. There you go, water, the wonderful water, looking incredibly murky and incredibly low. Like I said, huge amounts taken for the agriculture. This region of the lowlands in the Axarquia and in Malaga in general and in Almeria are huge suppliers for the supermarkets right through Europe. Avocados are planted in, mangoes are planted in, because they are big money spinners in comparison to things that are better adapted to our climate. It's not a brilliant idea because of the water. We're not a tropical area. We do have a subtropical climate when you're right next to the rivers, but it's kind of dodgy. I think that water is going to become more and more of an issue, and it is already causing problems. We're in our 3rd year of drought right now. When I did this walk, it was just starting off, and it was pretty bad then. Also, the climate is getting hotter and hotter every year. So this denuded landscape that looks rather barren, it's partly because they're taking all the water out. It's going to be more and more of an issue. They are talking about bringing in desalination plants, but they need to think really long term. I was interested to see these birds. These are barn swallows. I see very few flocks of, I see small groups of swallows, but very few flocks, but there they were. You can see how there's dust everywhere. There's soil degradation and erosion everywhere because of the intensive and continual planting in and then ploughing. They're not letting things bed in. I believe this was a honey buzzard. It was hard to tell because of the angle I was at and the height of the bird, and look how battered it looks. But it's only a guesstimate, so a reasonable guess. Like I said, endless amounts of plastic. There seems to be no awareness of how toxic this material is. And I find it very sad because this is such a beautiful area that it's despoiled in this way. Wonderful to see bee-eaters. Bee-eaters are always good. This looks like a really boring little strip of land, but there's always something to see if you will pay attention. So a little orange dropwing. This creature is here because of those open acequias. They have to have water somewhere. And here we're looking towards water sources. As soon as you see these giant reed, you know that there's water available to it. You can see the dust flying up from this ground as it's being ploughed. This is what we're losing. Soil is a precious resource. This is not a minor deal. But here I am back at the parking with my poor sore feet. So I hope you like this little walk. Next time I do it, I'll get all the way to Vélez-Malaga. If you did like it, subscribe and keep watching. Keep wilding.